What if I told you that while you were stressing about the price of a loaf of bread, a group of government officials were spending more on a single trip to New York than you, your family, and your entire street will earn in a lifetime? And what if the person who got caught wasn't the big boss who went on the trip, but the person they thought ratted them out? This isn't a movie. This is your taxpayer money at work. This is a story of luxury flights, five-star hotels, a 3 million rand bill, a suspended whistleblower, and a political game of who's the mole that would make spy versus spy look amateur. Buckle up, folks. It's about to get juicy.
Did the Department of Social Development spend 1 million rand on the Deputy Director General for Welfare Services for this New York trip?
Let me just contextualize this because as you report, sometimes the report doesn't come clearly. This is an annual UN commission on the status of women, which the Department of Social Development, Women and Youth and Persons with Disability, Education, and other departments go there on a yearly basis, which is something that we have sent people there. Yes, indeed, it was expensive, but as you are aware that normally when business people sees that there will be a lot of conferences, even in something, they increase the price. The exchange rate was a little bit higher than normal. But comprehensively, we spend around that amount of money as a department.
Welcome back, Nutshellers. Today we're diving deep into a story that has it all: drama, intrigue, corruption, and a frankly unbelievable amount of audacity. We're talking about the suspension of Lumka Oliphant from the Department of Social Development. Now, if you just read the headlines, you might think, oh, another corrupt official got caught. But my friends, that is exactly what they want you to think. The real story is so much more twisted. Let's start with the alleged crime itself, because, oh boy, is it a doozy. So the Minister of Social Development, Sisisi Tolashi, and her team, which included our main character Lumka Oliphant, took a little work trip to New York. Because if there's one place you go to solve South Africa's deep-rooted social issues like poverty, child malnutrition and grant payments, it's obviously the island of Manhattan. The Sunday Times did what great journalists do. They followed the money. And what did they find? A receipt for a party that cost a cool 3 million rands. Let's break down this shopping list of shame, shall we? Flights, not economy, not even business class. We're talking the crème de la crème, the kind of seat that lies flat, comes with a personal sommelier, and probably has a button to wipe away your tears of guilt with $100 bills. Tens of thousands of rands per ticket. Poof, gone just like that. Meanwhile, millions of poor people in the country are begging the government for a 1% increase in social grants, accommodation. They weren't staying at a Holiday Inn. Oh no, we're talking high-end five-star hotels, the kind where the mint on the pillow is personally delivered by a butler named Jeeves. The nightly rate for one room probably exceeded the monthly child support grant for a family of 4. The grand total, over 130,000 rands for Oliphant's part of the trip, and a combined total pushing 3 million, yes, 3 million. That could have built a library, funded a soup kitchen for a year, or provided thousands of school uniforms. Instead, it funded what exactly? A very important meeting about checks notes being socially developed? Look at what the Director General said when asked what is the value for money for this lavish trip.
So, in total, as a department, you've spent what, about 3 million rand on this trip for all your 7 delegates?
Yes.
What's the value for money?
South Africa, as a democratic country, has got a lot to teach. One, to teach other nations how democracy must be implemented in the country, how we are dealing with the issues of the status of women, and how we deal with how to empower our women in terms of the poverty, in terms of social grants that we're giving, the gender-based violence. You know, we have got a command center that we have, which we teach people. And most of the time when you go there, we are the talk of town. We are also learning from other international countries in terms of how you will need to implement what we have. That's why most of the times when we implement our programs, especially on women, we get recognized worldwide because we do an international approach in terms of how we deal
Yeah.
with our system. There is a lot of value for money. There is also lessons that we learn, and there's also the issue where we make sure that even developing countries that are there are able
Yeah.
to learn from us.
Hilarious, right? The outcome, a paid suspension, a long investigation, and eventually, nothing happens. The news cycle moves on. The minister who went on the trip, still in her job. The officials who approved the budget, still getting paid. The only person facing consequences is the person accused of talking about the trip. Let that sink in. But nutshellers, you might say, this is just how it is. What can I do? You should care because that 3 million rands wasn't a lottery win. It was your money. The VAT on that petrol you bought, the tax on your salary, the money that was meant for a grieving grandmother's grant, for a child's meal at school, for a community center in a township.
So how much did the Social Development Department spend on the DDG for this trip to New York?
Normally, if you look at all the issues in terms of the flight, the accommodation, and also the SNT, it comes to about 600, I think 609 or 607 as expenditure, which is something that during that time when it's expensive, we could accept it.
So you're saying that on one person as the Department of Social Development, you didn't spend R1 million, but for flights, for accommodation, for transfers, you spent about 600,000 Rand for this one DDG to be able to attend this conference in New York.
Yeah, it's up to that level, yes.
Every time this happens, a little less money makes it to the people who truly need it. This story is a perfect, disgusting microcosm of why our country struggles with service delivery. The priorities are all wrong.
My understanding is that the flight was about 200,000 Rand. Why is that the case?
Now, Clement, if you look at the prices for flights, businesses to when you go overseas, it's too much. Even if in Africa, it's very expensive. If you fly business class.
And I
So
looked at the
a
United
DDG
Airlines. I looked at United Airlines, for instance. I mean, at some point, the flight is going at 97,000 Rand business. So how do we get to 200,000 Rand?
No, it depends whether you are connecting or not connecting in terms of that. But in terms of the approach that we use, even that we is prescribed in our policies, even national treasury policies, businesses are expensive. They are expensive. They are
Yeah.
not as simple, cheap as that. Yeah.
But you must still decide as a department. I mean, if there's a 97,000 Rand business flight where you have to connect via Doha or Dubai, surely as a department, for a government that doesn't have money, that's actually the price tag that you go for, and not the price tag of almost 200,000 Rand because you want the direct flight. You take what's affordable.
Yes. Yes, but Clement, I've mentioned that during that time when we have got this commission on the status of women, you tend not to get anything, completely anything.
Yeah?
You tend not to get anything, completely anything.
But you said you attend this on a yearly basis, DG. Why do you not plan in advance? People who want to
No,
deal with costs.
if-
So if you are saying you have been attending this conference on a yearly basis, what you actually do is to actually look for flights in advance. And you realize that when you book way in advance because you know that there's a conference coming, then you end up not really spending as much as you would when you're booking closer to the date.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you that I think after that, that's what we then realize that the lessons learned is that we will need also to make sure that we do our things in time. But sometimes, fate things happens, and we that's what we find ourselves into the situation.
What
Not that
value?
we are happy about it. It's
Yeah.
something that we.
Is Lumka Oliphant a righteous whistleblower being punished for telling the truth? Or is she a convenient fall guy for a much bigger scandal? Why is the minister who led the trip not being held accountable? And most importantly, when will we finally see real consequences for this kind of blatant waste?
And you need 7 delegates to go and learn. You can't send 2 or 3 delegates because government doesn't have money, and those people can come back with a report and share whatever they've learned with everybody else in the department.
Yeah, the approach of these commissions, Clement, is totally different. You get a plenary, plus the parallel sessions, plus the events that, as a department, you are supposed to lead and guide and chair. In other words, you are supposed to be more than what it is. I think you're supposed to be more than that. So you will find that even the 7 people who said it's not enough, but that's what we could as a department. It's not us alone anyway. It's just that we are talking to me from social development. Several departments also do the same.
Which makes it even worse. I mean, if there are different departments that are sending, I think the Department of Women sent about 5 delegates. The Department of Higher Education spent 1.6 million sending 5 delegates. Department of Women spent 2 million sending 5 delegates. You have spent 3 million sending 7 delegates. You are part of one government, and somehow you can't ration the resources and say, because we really don't have money, let's rather send 2 officials per department, and they can provide a report and come and report back. Isn't that a better way of rationing the resources as opposed to send 7, 5 from another department, another 5 from another department, as if these are not part of one government?
It is nicely said than done, because different department represent different mandate. When you do that, different departments have got different mandate. Our mandate as social development is the biggest, which has got the issue of social protection, gender-based violence issue, substance abuse, and also the rights of women. So there's a lot of issues, topics that we deal with in conferences of this nature.
Yeah, but the Department of International Relations has also advised you, as departments attending these international events, to keep your delegations at a minimum, because the fiscus is under severe pressure. And I suppose that's a point I'm trying to make, that with a fiscus that is under pressure, it doesn't make sense to say, okay, send 7 people from social development, send 5 people from Department of Women, 5 people from Department of Higher Education. If really the fiscus is constrained, then you make compromises. You cut that by half. I want to quickly get your response on Lumka Oliphant, the spokesperson for Social Development Department. She has been suspended. She says that she has been suspended because you suspect that she is the one that leaked this information about the trip to New York to the media. Why have you suspended her?
With regard to Lumka Oliphant, she was suspended on a precautionary nature, because we want to investigate the findings of the AGS with regard to the AGSA has got a finding on one of the procurement on the contracts that she was managing, and this finding requires that we investigate that matter, and that is precautionary. We do that in terms of the law.
Right.
You need to ask someone to go home, and then so that we can investigate.
So the story breaks. The public is rightly furious. The media is asking questions. The department is under fire. So what does a responsible government department do? They hold the people responsible to account, right? Wrong, they look for the leak. They don't ask, why did we spend the money? They ask, who told them we spent the money? So who is Lumka Oliphant? She's the Chief Director of Communications. She's a PR pro. She's worked with journalists for years. So the minister's office, in a logic-defying leap worthy of an Olympic gymnast, decides, it must be her. She knows journalists. She's the mole. Oliphant was summoned. She denies it. She says, and I quote, "This is a political hit." She claims the minister has a vendetta against her because she used to work with the previous minister, Lamini. It's like generations, but with more taxpayer money at stake. Apparently, a ministerial advisor is running a smear campaign against her, calling her the minister's enemy. This isn't a government department. It's a season of the Real Housewives of Pretoria. Now here's where it gets truly beautiful. The department can't say we suspended her for leaking our embarrassing spending spree. That would be too honest. So, they need a cover story. Enter the Director General, Mr. Peter Netchapale. He releases a statement, and it is a glorious piece of bureaucratic word salad. He says Lumka has been placed on precautionary suspension with full pay. Not exactly a harsh punishment, is it? A forced paid vacation. Sign me up. And the reason? Get this. Consequence management related to Auditor General findings. I want you to read that sentence again. Consequence management related to Auditor General findings. It sounds serious, doesn't it? It's designed to sound official and boring, so you'll just scroll past. It's the perfect cover. But Lumka herself shoots this down, saying it has nothing to do with her. She says it's all about the New York trip leak. But wait, it gets better. Let's hear from the man himself. Roll the clip. The precautionary suspension is prompted by the need to investigate without hindrance or interference, given Ms. Oliphant's position in the department. Without hindrance or interference. Translation: we're suspending you so you can't show anyone the other receipts that might implicate us even more. This is a classic move. You silence the person you think is a threat under the guise of procedure. Let's be clear. This isn't just about one trip. This is a symptom of a disease called impunity. Spend public money with the delicacy of a king at a peasant's wedding. Brave journalists dig up the truth. Instead of addressing the crime, they attack the messenger or find a scapegoat. And then, the cover-up. Use official-sounding jargon to hide the real reason for your actions. I want to hear from you in the comments below. Let's get a discussion going. And if you want to see more deep dives into the stories they don't want you to see, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. This is In a Nutshell signing off. Remember, stay curious, stay angry, and hold them accountable.